Any questions? Yes, just wait for the mic. There should be a mic somewhere.
Francis, since we are all consciousness, the supreme universal consciousness, why during our lives do we choose, to varying degrees of another, to actually identify with ignorance or non-duality? I mean, to me it seems a rather unwise thing to do. Yet we choose to do it.
Yeah, but it seems unwise to the one who is identified. You see, that's a problem. So this, how do you say, this unwiseness is as illusory as the one who finds it unwise. In other words, in order to have a real problem, you need a real entity to have a real problem. An illusory entity can only have an illusory problem. So, going back to your question, the unwiseness could be translated as it is problematic, right? So it's a problem, but the problem is always for the person. The self who creates it has no problem. If there was any problem, he simply wouldn't create it. So Ramana Maharshi used to say, don't worry about the mess, let the one who created the mess take care of the mess.
So then we're in the problem-solving business.
The problems, they all refer, or the unwiseness, the problems always refer to a human, a personal vantage point. You see? Another example, in the fall, in Canada, the trees take these beautiful red colors, right? We don't see that as a problem. We see that as very beautiful. However, from the vantage point of the leaves, that's a problem.
So then this is an issue of perception.
The moment we identify with a fragment, we are in trouble. Because a fragment is always impermanent. And this impermanence is the mother of all problems. It is the mother of all fears. It is the mother of all desires. It is the source of our sense of lack, that something is missing. And as long as we identify with a fragment, the rest will be missing.
So it's all about misidentification.
Yes. In the beginning, it may seem weird. My teacher used the following metaphor of one who goes to a spiritual teacher. He would compare this person as one who would have would be suffering of overeating, and he goes to this doctor, and the doctor just removes his stomach. In this metaphor, the stomach is the sense of being a separate self. The desire for food is the desire for objects, the fear and desire that keep us always seeking something else, never satisfied with what the moment has to offer, always oscillating between past and future, never taking the time to be with the flow of life, with the reality. And it is only in the now that we can experience happiness. Happiness can never be experienced in the future, nor in the past. And that's what we seek. But we always keep seeking. It's like one who would, the metaphor I use also, is that of one who is complaining that he has to be always running in his life. And the reason why he is always he has to keep running is because he is tilted forwards. So he is a constant imbalance. You see, being tilted forwards, he has to put one foot in front, but then he is still tilted. So he has to keep running. And all he has to do is to stand vertical, then he stops. You see? And so that's a little bit the same thing. Our leaning forward is the identification of consciousness with the human body-mind. Once this leaning forward is removed, the dynamism of seeking, of living in the past and in the future, stops by itself. I mean, we can always facilitate the cessation of the residual activities using some skillful means. But the real cure of this disease is the realization that we are not a separate and limited consciousness.
I have a related question. We use these terms, like we make statements like my hand, my arm, my leg, my whatever. And clearly we use it for practical purposes. Is it helpful not to use statements like that?
Well, it may be interesting for a while. However, we have also to be natural. It's okay, for instance, we say also my car, my house, right? It doesn't mean we identify with the car or with the house. We can say, somebody scratched my right door, right? Doesn't mean that we identify with a car. So we can use everyday language, provided we are very well aware that it is not the ultimate truth about who or what we are. Otherwise, it becomes a little bit, it could become a little bit artificial and also sound a little bit strange. For instance, given that consciousness is universal, we could use the we instead of the I, right? But we may end up sounding like the Queen of England. You see?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want that. All right, thank you.
No offense, Jonathan.